Hello and welcome, Must Players. I'm Mark Senamatino, and this is your weekly dose of all things gaming, film, entertainment, frankly, anything we want to talk about. After 1 week off, we are back, and it is going to be a huge one given how much news, trailers, and everything, just games, have come out in this past fortnight. Sitting to my right, because we've swapped sides, is the man who's been here from the start, Julian Price. How you doing, Jules?
I'm good. Bit of change of scenery. We got our coffees and our lamingtons. And
No, we're facing the other way.
It's a much different episode
I feel strange.
The beers than the VB that Meso's normally sipping on.
That VB got a comment, so we've got to bring that VB back.
How are you, Meso? All
Good. VB less.
VB less? You happy with your coffee?
There's always
Very
next
happy.
week.
Look at this little guy. Feel very regal.
Before we get stuck into
With the pinky.
the news headlines, we've been playing heaps of games this past fortnight. Plenty has been coming out. Jules, you've been checking out Spyro?
Spyro the dragon. Bring me back. Like my childhood, 100%. Feels good.
Feels good. And Meso?
Playing Battlefield 5. I've only played the multiplayer. Haven't even bothered the single player yet. But it is good fun.
Well, I've been playing the single player, so we can talk a bit about that.
We can do
Combined
that.
review on
Combined.
its way. And I've been checking out the new Pokemon game, Let's Go Pikachu. We'll have my full impressions of that. Jules has been playing it as well, and I've been playing it exclusively in co-op mode. So we'll give you our full impressions a little later on in the show. But first, our news headlines, and a huge one this week, we can't go past this, is the fact that Sony has decided it's quitting E3. PlayStation will not be at E3 2019. It'll just be Xbox and Nintendo, along with all the other third-party publishers. Gentlemen, I mean, what's your initial reaction to this? Are you surprised?
They better be coming up with something big.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. Really surprised. They are normally the ones everyone waits for. Even though last year it was a bit lackluster.
E3 is our Christmas as gamers.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
one thing I count down to
Maybe
every
that's the
single year.
thing.
And
That's what's
Sony are
holding
the
them
big
back.
ones too. They're the ones that everyone waits for.
Well, maybe they're just like, well, we don't really have anything that's going to blow anyone away, and rather than disappoint everyone, we'll just hold off until we're ready.
Because that's exactly what they did this year. They disappointed everyone
It's
with
a smart
4 games.
move to not appear at E3.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed they do their own Nintendo Direct style PlayStation exclusive.
Which I think that's what they will. Because I don't think they have any real banging games coming out in the next year.
Well, it's funny because they said it's not just they're missing E3 as the event, but they're missing E3 as like a week. We know that it's expanded beyond the convention centre it's typically held at. So EA do their own thing in London. They're not going to be there at all. My tip is they're biding their time. I don't think they've got much else out or coming out besides Last of Us, Death Stranding, and Ghost of Tsushima, which all seem like they're
a long way away.
Yeah, way off. So don't reckon they're going to hit late next year, maybe early 2020. So my bet is they have a late 2019 preview of the PlayStation 5, and then we get the blowout in 2020, and they come back to E3 strong, or they just simply do their own thing with PSX like they've been doing.
Yeah. They'll come out strong, I think, in 2020. New console, new games.
Yeah, but who
It'll be
knows?
huge.
They might surprise us next year.
They've got a huge lead on the Xbox, so I don't think Sony has too much to worry about in terms of the PlayStation 4. Into the realm of film, this past fortnight has been huge in terms of just the sheer amount of trailers we've got for brand new and movies, frankly, that we're pretty excited about, I would think, in total.
Well, there's a few on that list that I'm pretty pumped for.
I mean, the big 5 that I'm looking at are Detective Pikachu, which is going to have Ryan Reynolds voicing Detective Pikachu, which is odd. We'll talk about that in a second.
What a stretch.
Deadpool is coming out with an Xmas movie, a Christmas movie, all PG, which is odd. Toy Story 4 got not one, but 2 trailers, one a teaser and one slightly more like a reaction. Aquaman and as well as Dumbo also got trailers. So we'll start with Detective Pikachu. I mean, Jules, gut reaction?
Okay, I'm interested, but I'm really struggling to see past Pikachu as being Deadpool.
Okay. He's a bit sassy. He is a sassy Pikachu, but that's the whole point.
So we'll have to wait and see. But the trailer for Detective Pikachu was fun.
Did you watch it, Meso?
I watched it. It's not my sort of thing, but so I watch it on Netflix. But it is hard with Ryan Reynolds. He's so you just see him as Deadpool, don't you?
Look, I think it's the first half of this trailer. I hated it. I absolutely hated the first half. Just thinking,
it's a bit.
what have they done? But it was just a bit jarring, I think, to see that this was going to be the first live action Pokemon movie, and this is what they settled on. And the Pokemon look so much different. They're so much more detailed. Pikachu is incredibly fluffy and almost looks like he's been scuffed up and is a bit dirty at stages. But the second half of the trailer, I fell in love with it. When it wasn't so much about Ryan Reynolds and just me seeing that beautiful man instead of Pikachu, and we got to see the world become a lot more intricate. We got to see the Pokemon roaming around, the ones in the wild, as well as the Greninjas, which are going to be seemingly part of the antagonists in this film.
The probably ultimate original favourite, Charizard.
Yeah, he's in there. He goes for a big bite.
Jeez, watch out, Pikachu.
Wants to eat Pikachu. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. Deadpool. I mean, how have we gone from Ryan Reynolds saying, I only want to make R-rated superhero movies when it comes to Deadpool, and now we get a PG one? This has come out of nowhere.
He did say he would never make Deadpool PG, but I don't know.
Is Deadpool Christmas special? Is this essentially the first or second Deadpool movie just remade without?
I don't think so. Not from what we saw in the trailer. It's completely new stuff.
It's completely new, but I still think it can be a bit of a piss take. I think his humour still works. Well,
I think it's going to be a limited cinema release, and then it's going to come out, I think, digitally after that. And frankly, I think the reason he can do it is because Deadpool's become such a popular character that we all are now familiar with his R-rated humour and the sexual innuendo, and frankly, the innuendo in general. He can now do with less filthy language and still get away with the humour a bit because we're more familiar with the character. So I think fans of the R-rated movies will still like it, but maybe it appeals a bit more to kids.
And if you remove the violence out of Deadpool, it'll drop the rating pretty quick.
Yeah.
And that's not getting rid of the jokes. So
no, and that's all we've seen.
I reckon that's probably what it will be. It'll be no violence Deadpool.
Yeah. Toy Story 4. A film which I cannot wait for. And I don't know how it's going to hit the emotional highs of Toy Story 3, but apparently they've done so. We got a teaser trailer just showing off all the toys running around in a circle holding hands that showed off one brand new toy, which is a man-made or child-made
fork.
Yeah, it's the old
fork
Colgate
man.
whistle toy. Yeah.
That one was a bit weird. But we got a follow-up trailer, which was sort of like a reaction to that, where we found out that Key and Peele, two of my favourites from Comedy Central, are going to be playing a duck and a bird that are essentially toys that can be won at a carnival, which...
Carnival toys.
I love the concept of. I love the concept of already, and the fact that Key and Peele are playing them, I think is great. We don't know much really about the story.
Well, we know it's a tearjerker from what Hanks and Home Improvement said.
Mr. Home Improvement to you.
That's how we are going to be referring to
Tim Allen.
No, just Mr. Home
Guy
Improvement.
with the face.
Go with the face. Aquaman as a trailer. I actually haven't watched this one, so Jules...
Oh, there's nothing super special.
No?
I'm worried about this movie. It's been in post-production for so long that I think they're just trying to rescue something out of it.
I felt like the initial trailer where we saw a few of the first jokes fell a bit flat, particularly when he's talking about, why couldn't we have just urinated on that artifact that needed water to open? It's
I wouldn't be surprised if they've had 5 or 6 goes at the edit of this movie trying to get it to work.
Let us know what you thought of the Aquaman trailer, because clearly none of us have watched it. And we did get one. The one that I did watch was for Dumbo, a film which, to be honest, I actually cannot remember the plot of Dumbo at all. I don't think I've seen it since I was 3, 4, 5 years old.
No, he could fly or something, couldn't he?
Yeah, he's a flying elephant. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
But
he's in a circus.
Yes,
that's right, the circus.
This trailer alone was speaking to me. When you see his mum get led away in the cage, and
his big eyes.
Clearly, the dad who's going to be the guy, not necessarily the villain, but the one who needs to be brought back into the light side by his kids.
You need to give him a big cuddle.
Yeah. I know.
Come on, Dumbo, you'll be right, man.
It's amazing how Disney's cartoons were always cute. It was very easy to fall in love with Dumbo and Aladdin because they are cartoony. But as soon as they were going into live action, one of my biggest concerns is how do you replicate that charm in CG characters? But personally, I think they nailed it in the most recent Winnie the Pooh movie that came out, Christopher Robin. I was crying throughout that entire thing. I was just a big selfie. Shame.
You know this goes on the internet.
And then Dumbo has come out and it looks like it's just going to hit me right there again in that soft spot. So
when I see live action on anything, I think immediately that's going to be creepy.
Yeah.
Most of them look pretty creepy.
But they've nailed it. They just make this elephant look so lovable. Anyway, we'll move to slightly more serious movies. This one not a trailer, but an Australian actress, one of our favourites, Margot Robbie, has revealed or given us a little bit of insight into the new Birds of Prey movie. We knew this was coming out, a film uniting all of the Batman villains, all of the female Batman villains, I should say, in following up to Suicide Squad. She has posted a picture of the script to her Instagram page, which doesn't just say Birds of Prey, it also has in handwriting scrawled on it, and the fabulous emancipation of Harley Quinn. Now, I've looked up the definition of emancipation. And apparently, emancipation is any effort to procure economic and social rights, political rights, or equality, often for a specifically disenfranchised group or more generally in discussion of such matters, but it is more commonly used to say emancipation of minors in terms of legally taking them away from their parents. Now, some people are interpreting this maybe as her emancipation from the Joker and that dependence that she has on him, but it might also go further into her backstory. But that's why we don't have ceramic cups typically on this show. But I mean, we know that Harley Quinn was quite a successful psychiatrist before she fell in love with the Joker. So I have no idea. What do you think, gentlemen?
I love the character, so I'm sure if we see how she was in Suicide Squad, it'll be great.
Yeah, if she's the main, if that character's the main sort of star in this movie, I mean, there's going to be a bunch of them. I think it'll go pretty well because she was the shining light in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, she was my favourite part of that film as well. I also really liked Jared Leto's Joker. I just feel like
you're probably one of the few.
Yeah, I think you're
I
alone.
thought he was cool. He made it was crazy. I liked it. He's no Heath Ledger, but they're very different. Anyway, different interpretations. We won't rank them, but I think we know Heath Ledger is at the top. And just finally, because we were speaking about Dumbo and Disney earlier, a lost Disney film has been found in Japan. Now, this is one of the original 20 or 25 hand-drawn animations by Walt Disney and his company, which apparently there's about 20 to 25 films that have been lost just over the years. And it turns out that this Japanese man ended up purchasing one of the reels of this film decades ago for 500 yen, which I think is the equivalent of
less
about
than $5.
$4.
Yeah, it is $5.
And he's just been storing it effectively for all of these years. He's finally come across it. He sent it to Disney, and they said, "Yep, this is one of our
confirmed
originals." And it was actually a character that was a precursor to Mickey Mouse itself. So it's insane to think that. This was
predates the old whistling Mickey,
which is the first original animation. So a really interesting part of history there. Into more TV news, and there's going to be a Star Wars series.
Well, straight after we got the Mandalorian announcement, Star Wars, Disney have come out and said we're going to make a new one, and it's going to be about Cassian Andor.
I see. I'm personally
I almost read that.
Yeah.
Casual Andor.
Who wrote that? Well, that's why I said casual or earlier. But anyway, basically, they've announced a new TV show. It's going to be starring Cassian, who was one of the characters from Rogue One, a film which I didn't particularly like the first time around. And frankly,
Diego Luna Sky, wasn't it?
Yeah. And frankly, I thought Cassian... Good actor, but I thought his character was one of the most one-dimensional in the film.
Well, we didn't really get a lot from him, so I think this is probably where they're thinking, all right, people deserve to know a bit more about this guy.
Yeah.
Can we read out your text about this?
I mean, if Jules is willing to bring it up while I have a quick yak about the TV series.
One in the chat.
I mean, my biggest concern about the fact that they've announced this is now we know that there is Star Wars Episode 9 coming out. We know that Rian Johnson's on the hook to develop another trilogy that's separate. We know that The Mandalorian is coming. We know that they're having issues with the spin-off movies. And here we get another spin-off, which it's a lot on their plate at once. And I personally would rather they just developed one or two things which were great.
Yeah, they're flooding the market almost. It's too much.
Well, Disney must be under immense pressure to have content for their streaming service that's exclusive and to draw in the customers. This one will be on their streaming service. I think they're just calling it Disney Plus at the moment.
Yeah, Disney Plus.
So there'll be this, The Mandalorian. I think there's some new animated series coming as well.
Let's be honest, Disney could just put every single cartoon they've ever put up, every animated film, then they've got all of the Marvel stuff, plus the live action remakes, and parents everywhere in the world are going to be buying that service.
Well, they just rip it off every other streaming service that currently has it.
Yeah.
But what do you do in terms of things like Netflix Marvel series.
What about them?
Like,
They can't take them off.
there's only 2 left.
Well, yeah, and to be honest, it seems as though Luke Cage and Jessica Jones... Luke Cage is already gone. Iron Fist is gone.
Jessica Jones is still going, but it's on borrowed time, you would think.
And look, Daredevil, to be honest, hasn't had the impressions the 3rd season that the
maybe they're just going to finish up and then free game for Disney.
I mean, what was my comment, real quick?
Oh gosh!
Just read
so
it.
I sent. We have a group chat. I sent Mark and Ryan the link, and Mark's first comment was, yes, the most boring character in Rogue One gets a TV show. Give us Vader.
That's all we need.
I agree. I would love, but there is a Vader series coming.
Yeah, there's a
VR series.
Anyway, I don't care about a VR series. Anyway, while we're on the topic of Star Wars, turns out the theme park that they are building for it at the American Disneyland is going to have its own theme music, which is being written by the man himself, John Williams, who is famous for pretty much every great film theme around.
Yeah. What are they going to do when he goes?
Are the only 2.
Yeah.
He,
Sorry, no disrespect to Hans.
No, yeah.
How old is John Williams?
Oh,
he's in his I think he's in his late 60s or 70s.
Oh, so he's got many years, obviously.
Really quickly, a few news items about Xbox this week. We can now use a mouse and keyboard for the Xbox, which is great for people that like to play PUBG like yourself, Meso, with a keyboard and mouse.
Why don't you play your PC?
yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
What's the point?
Just get a PC.
And there is a news site, Throt, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is reporting that Microsoft have stashed under its belt a discless Xbox to be announced at E3 this year. Not necessarily their next Xbox, but just a redone Xbox One, which is focused purely on digital gaming. We know they've got their, not Games for Gold, what's it called? Their Game Pass streaming service, which allows you to basically play any Microsoft game and a few third-party games.
Well, if they put this thing out at a good price, I can't see it going wrong.
No, but it's not exactly looking into the future. As long as it comes with like a 2 terabyte hard drive, it'll be fine.
It'd have to.
And let's be honest,
but exclusively downloading games to it.
Yeah.
My point is, why bother removing the disc drive? Because it just
drive.
prevents you from playing any DVDs or Blu-rays that you got, and a bigger hard drive is more expensive than a disc drive.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to save all that much money. Let's get into the games we have been playing, and first cab off the rank is Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Jules has got his copy there. We've got the little Pikachu amiibo at the front to pay tribute.
I thought you were going for a Lamington there.
Oh, mate, while I'm here, can you just pass me one of those Lamingtons?
Well, since you guys are talking about Pokemon, I'll dive in because I'm going to shut up for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, look, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, a remake of Pokemon Yellow, which is focused on the titular characters Pikachu and Eevee. Thank you, Jules. It's basically what you'd expect out of Pokemon, and there are some pretty significant changes which we will get into, but basically it's a HD version of the game which came out 20 plus years ago now. The original one we played on our Game Boys, it plays well, it looks good. It's not a huge departure for anyone who was hoping for a Zelda-style open world. That's not there. But the biggest change, Jules, has come in the form of essentially how you catch and encounter Pokemon in the wild.
No more killing hundreds and hundreds of Pokemon in the wild and just leaving their corpses to rot in Viridian City Forest. No, you just simply catch them.
Yeah, that took a dark turn, didn't it?
Yeah, no, it's pretty morbid when you think about how...
Like driving down the Hume,
how you used
on the side of the road.
Seriously, you're going around and you're just like flamethrowing all these Pokemon to train up...
Yeah. Look, the major changes, I'm just going to skip right over that. The major changes basically are you can actually see Pokemon out in the wild. They'll still pop up at random. They do appear out of thin air, which I suppose is a little bit disappointing. But you actually can avoid them by simply not running into them. And if you want to catch that Pokemon, you can run into them. Once you enter that battle, you have to use the Joy-Con to throw your Pokeball at them. There's no battling. There's no whittling down its health. You throw berries at them to make them a little bit easier to catch or placate them. And when you do eventually catch them, everyone in your team gets experience, not just the Pokemon that you would have had out battling it.
Makes it so much better.
Yeah. I used to play. I think it was Leaf Green, and you'd figure out, all right, that takes that much damage, so I'll whittle them down. I'll do one more hit, then they'll be right to catch. Critical hit, kill them.
See, my thing with Pokemon was the grinding that I hated, because inevitably you get 4 or 5 gyms in, and then you find a Pokemon that you want to be part of your Elite 6, and they're 20 levels lower than every other Pokemon you have. So
put them in the daycare.
No, I
It's
used
too
to.
slow.
I used to put them first, and so
Switch 'em
eventually,
out.
yeah,
Switch them out.
That's the
Yeah,
only
of
way to
course.
do it.
Yeah.
it is the only way to do it, but it just took so much time. Whereas this is
Yeah.
great. The flip side of it is because you always want to have your Pikachu or Eevee on you, they become the most overpowered Pokemon going around. And I'm currently playing it with my girlfriend taking the lead. I'm player 2 in this because co-op has been introduced, which is great because I've played the games before. She's never played a Pokemon, and so far she's really loving this introduction to it, and I can just sort of help her along without getting in the way, effectively. And in battle, it allows me to play as whichever other Pokemon we have in our party, and essentially gang up 2-on-1 and make it a bit easier for her.
Very easy.
I think
That's kind of flawed.
Depends how you're playing it. I mean, for me, I'm happy to have a little casual stroll down memory lane, but for her, who's not a dedicated gamer, I think it's great in terms of how it just streamlines it. Because apparently, once you get all 8 badges and you beat the Elite Four, it really ramps up in difficulty. There are, I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but apparently, for every single Pokemon in the game, there is a trainer. And that trainer has that Pokemon at level 75. And you can only beat that trainer with that Pokemon. So that includes like a Rattata or a Pidgey. So if you don't have a level 75 Pidgey, you're stuffed. A lot of grinding, but I suppose it does lend itself to the whole lot of catching principle.
It's definitely, they're pushing that catch.
And I must say, it's fun. Especially when you're playing co-op and you've got to throw the Pokeballs together to try and get the extra bonus to then allow you to catch harder Pokemon. It's really intuitive and it's a great game.
I love that you can also tell if a Pokemon is going to be special.
Yeah,
it's shiny, isn't it?
Different auras around them.
Yeah.
But this game has so much nostalgia. Even though it's brand new, completely graphics changed in every way, it still feels like I'm going back and I'm playing Pokemon Yellow and my Pikachu's following me around. And
which is a bit of a negative as well. If you're hoping for the big next step in Pokemon, we might have to wait till that other Pokemon game, which we know is coming next year, the one that's going to be Generation 8. For now, we get a nice little friendly, easy trip down memory lane.
For people like myself who haven't really caught up with all these new Pokemon, this is perfect for me.
Yeah, I'm Gen 1 only.
Yeah. And that's, I suppose, part of its allure. 150 of the original Pokemon. Can't go wrong. Speaking of going down memory lane, you've been playing Spyro, Jules.
I have been playing Spyro.
Take us away. The Reignited Trilogy. Good, bad, or indifferent?
Well, I'm playing it with my girlfriend at the moment. She was playing as I left to come here, so it's really something that we can all play together. Even my daughter was just in love with it and keeps saying, "Can we put on the dragons? Can we put?" I'm like, "Okay, sure. If it's not Dora the Explorer, go for it."
The world of a dad. If it's not Dora or Peppa Pig, please, anything else.
But I got to say, this game is so fun. It brings me back so many good memories, just like Pokemon. But it's so challenging at times. If you want to just cruise through, do all the levels, why not? But with a game like this, I've got 100% every level, or else it's not worth it.
Yeah.
See, I never played Spyro growing up. I mean, I played it, but I'd never had the games myself because I didn't have a PlayStation 1. Although I did play a lot of the Crash Bandicoot games when they were re-released or just when I had my cousin's PlayStation for a time. And so because I don't have really any nostalgia for Spyro, I am going to skip this one, but it does look really well made.
Well, I think if it comes out on the Switch, you should pick it up.
Yeah.
Much like they did with Crash Bandicoot. It took a bit longer.
Yeah.
I put up a little video on the Facebook page just to show my frustration, but also my accomplishment when I 100% of treetops.
Your elation?
Oh my god! I did that today. That was a nightmare, but felt so good to finish a level after trying that many times.
It's a good feeling. Meso, Battlefield 5 is also out. EA has been kind enough to send us a review copy. We will have a review up by the time this podcast goes to air, hopefully, or at least part of one. I mean, you've played a couple of games, Jules. You've also played online. Initial thoughts, reactions?
Yeah, I love it just because of its setting. It's World War II. You know, all the guns are familiar. A lot of people know the names. All the tanks, all the vehicles are familiar. So the setting itself, and you're in Europe for a lot of the multiplayer maps. I love that. It plays very well. I've had a few random bugs that have popped up where you can't spawn on squad mates, which is a big thing in a Battlefield game, because in multiplayer you spawn and then you have to run for 5 minutes before you get back to the action, where you just want to spawn back on your... And for some reason, some games it wasn't letting me do that. But you can't really go wrong with big maps. 64 people on them.
And it looks beautiful.
It looks great. Yeah, destructible worlds. That's what
they've really got that going for them.
That's what Battlefield sets it apart from the Call of Duty. Is the bigger maps. It looks nicer and destructible worlds. It's really fun to play. I'm going to get stuck into it tomorrow, to be honest.
That being said, you've had a few issues early on, Jules.
Yeah.
Just a few glitches.
It wasn't like my Fortnite first game, I'll tell you. No, but I have had some successful online games. But I've focused a bit more on the story, which is something that our Call of Duty that just came out did not have. Mm-hmm. So the story in this is great. The story is good, but I've found the gameplay, it's a bit all over the place. So you kind of you're thrown into a map, and the first level, I won't give away any spoilers, but there's 3 locations. You can go to any of those locations at any time to complete those objectives, and you can do it in any way you want. That may sound good, but it doesn't feel like you're playing the game right. Mm-hmm. I'm meant to be this amateur soldier, and I'm just doing whatever I want, just shooting down everything. I think it doesn't feel right.
Okay.
The big thing that's missing at the moment is its BR mode. It is
the one thing we've all been super excited about with such massive destructible worlds.
Yeah, and I don't think it's coming out until March, so it's still a bit of a wait away. So that's the one big thing that's missing in the multiplayer side of it.
Oh, speaking of multiplayer games, can we just hurry up and get Red Dead Online?
Yeah,
mate, I'm in no rush for Red Dead Online. I've still got so much more of that story.
I don't even know if I'm going to play.
Don't worry about it. There's so much to do in that world. You'll get it eventually.
But there's not enough things.
Rockstar knows when you need it. Okay.
Yeah.
And just really quickly, first I should say that review is going to be up at mustplay.net.au by the time this comes out. Also, another review that will be up there is our review of Farming Simulator 19, which this week, thanks to the very generous publishers of that game, we managed to give away a copy to one of our listeners, Scott Atkins. He responded to us on Facebook, our giveaway, with the comment, "I would farm games because I could make some money selling them to people cheaper than the stores sell them because seeds are cheaper than games."
Take note, EB.
It made no sense on any logical level. He clearly doesn't have any understanding as to how farming actually works or how video game development is done.
There were some other interesting comments that we could probably read out.
We'll skip over them. But in terms of answering the question, if you could farm anything, what would you farm and why? It made us laugh, so that's why Scott wins. Congratulations, Scott, and thank you to everyone else who entered on our Facebook page.
And Robert, we hope you're feeling all right, man.
Yes, Robert, who said he would farm friends.
Poor Bobby.
So we wouldn't always be alone. I hang out with you every Tuesday night at basketball, Rob. I don't know why you would write that there. Anyway, it's been a big week or a big fortnight for games. Thank you for putting up with us as we took a break last week and moved into my lounge room because it was too noisy with all the rain in the garage.
Boring.
We really appreciate your time. We will be running more competitions on our Facebook, Instagram, and all of our socials, including Twitter. So make sure you head over there, give us a like, a thumbs up, a subscribe, whatever you can muster. We really do appreciate the support. Of course, we're live across Facebook. We put the podcast now, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music. I've muddled those up in terms of audio and video formats, but you get the gist.
Just Google Must Play and we'll be number 1.
Are we number 1 now?
You ripper.
Moving up the ranks. Well, with well over 1,100 listens, we are really kicking goals. Gentlemen, thank you as always for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Episode 21 of Must Play. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.